Hello everyone, Merry Christmas to you all and God bless. My name is Matthew and today, for the first time ever, we've got a Godzilla vs. Kong HIYA Toys figure. That's right, HIYA Toys, the new, pretty much, a big action figure company on the block. Not just Tamashii Nations, and rest in peace NECA's line, but this is basically the new rage at this point. So I'm finally holding one, the Spitfire HIYA Toys Heat Ray action figure from Godzilla vs. Kong. So we're gonna get right into it because I'm actually pretty excited. It's a new experience for me. I've actually never gotten a HIYA Toys figure before. It's my first time. So you guys are going to be seeing my reaction live. And what better way to do it than the literal favorite of Godzilla's. Oh, wow. Ain't you high quality. Look at that. Okay, so we're going to flip the tray like this. Is there any tape around the tray? Because there usually is with some SH Monster Arts and NECAs. Actually, sometimes NECA. Nope. So, looks like we're going to be getting this guy open, and, oh, man, you are beefy. I was not expecting it to be this beefy, although I should be expecting. Oh, wow. Look at you. Oh, wow, look, feel that creakiness. Wait, are you the static head? No, you're the movable head. Move that jaw. Look at this. This is so cool. This is really, really cool. It creaks a lot. Of course, then again, oh, wow, little stiff, and as in stiff, I mean, this guy is stiff. Look at that. Just look at that. The blue water. I'm in love with this thing. Let's bust out the atomic breath. I want to see the accessories. I did not realize that was attached to a separate tray. How do we get this out? Oh, it's two trays. Okay, so it is taped on. Okay, my apologies, ladies and gentlemen. So we shall put that back out. Move Godzilla himself off to the side. Let's take a look at the beam, because I'm really interested in the beam. I know there's like an alternate head. Oh, here we go. Oh, it's two separate pieces. That I did not know. I thought, okay, because I watched some, or looked at some photos. I thought this was just all one cohesive piece. Did not realize those two. So we had the alternate head here and the alternate neck part. Oh, you are gorgeous. Look at you. Hold up. Let's put these back in. I'm already like, look at you. This is so cool. This is lit. This is honestly lit. And I will honestly use that terminology until HIYA Toys ceases to be. Look at this thing. This, I know it's not meant to fit in this mouth yet, but just the thought of it, like, being in there. This is so cool. Like, legit, this is so cool. The tongue is a bit high up on the mouth, because you can't really see it until you, like, actually close it. Kind of like what NECA did for theirs, which actually, busting out the NECA, because I know a lot of people want to see it next to the NECA, so we might as well bust it out. Yeah, it is actually way bigger. I wouldn't expect it to be this big. Wow, I think I don't want to have, I want to say I have a preference. I like this guy's blue, and I like this guy's blue. This one definitely, like, appeals to me because I like, kind of like turquoise, but this blue is, like, really good. But that being said, thank you guys for watching this video. I'm going to stop the unboxing here. If you guys liked it, definitely subscribe to the channel. Believe in Jesus, accept Him as your Lord and Savior today, spread the gospel, and have a happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and spend some time with your loved ones, family, and friends. Peace out, everyone. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Matthew, and today we're doing another episode of the box showcase. Yeah, it's been a bit, but we're back with the newest box of the collection, essentially. The HIYA Toys Exquisite Basic Godzilla vs. Kong Heat Ray Godzilla action figure box. Now, I want to make everyone aware that this is not a review of the figure, because I know for a fact some of you guys are looking for the review. If you want to see the review, it's a three-parter, I think. It'll be on my channel page, so definitely see it. That being said, the front of the box features not the style guide, oddly enough. I wonder how companies can get away with this. Because usually when a company licenses their property to an action figure company, they usually give them a style guide. Godzilla vs. Kong was like orange and blue smushed together. That's not what they did here. Instead, I'm guessing it's because like international, because Tamashii Nations didn't do it either. We have the figure itself with a cartoonized version of the beam. I wonder why. I'm guessing like maybe they had this figure already to go, but they were still like making the beam, so they just didn't do that in time or whatever. Or maybe this is just a stylist choice, and looking too far into it. So they have a cartoon like beam, and they have like a very comic book like background with all the illustrated like sun and the clouds and the smoke and the explosions. Photorealistic looking buildings that are like all damaged and everything. Like got some like realistic looking smoke here, and we got like a bunch of, and it's all like blue filtered or just colored in blue. And then obviously it says here, Ray Godzilla, Exquisite Basic, Godzilla Ashbeer, MonsterVerse, warning, choking hazard, small parts, not for children under 3 years, for ages 15 and up, and HIYA Toys logo. When we shift to the side of the box, oh, I love that sound. This is as back as my camera can allow it, but it says Exquisite Basic, Godzilla vs. Kong, continues the buildings from earlier, HIYA Toys. We'll take a look at the other side, because it's pretty much the same thing on the opposite side. Top of the box is just more of like the sun and the explosions and stuff. Godzilla vs. Kong, Exquisite Basic. Bottom of the box, literally the same thing. This would be where the legal mumbo jumbo goes, but actually it's on the back and features some very prominent. It's very basic. Exquisite Basic is right. It basically just says produced by HIYA Toys Company Limited. And then it actually shows some very precise room of where it is. So Legendary Pictures, MonsterVerse, Toho, copyright 2023, Legendary, so on and so forth. And then we got some like action figures, some pretty much some action poses with the figure, and especially continuing that background from earlier. I'm really interested about that comic book style that they use for this figure, because really, it looks great. It looks very different compared to the other Godzilla boxes I have, because there's only so much love and respect you can give to style guides like this. Because, like, look at this. It's just, it's all the same thing. Godzilla vs. Kong, and then it's just like, this is from one of the minifigures. But, I mean, I like these, but there's just something about this type of box that makes me feel even more happy to have it. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys liked it, definitely subscribe to the channel. Believe in Jesus. Accept him as your Lord and Savior today. Spread the gospel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, everyone. God bless. If you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. With that being said, hello everyone. Welcome back to another video. My name is Matthew, and today we're back with the HIYA Godzilla figures. So if anyone doesn't know, a few years ago, specifically 2023, I got this guy for Christmas, and he's been one of my favorite figures since, but the HIYA Godzilla line as a whole was something I kind of, I don't want to use the word neglect, but it's kind of something I've been neglecting to collect, because I've just been wanting to focus on other figure lines for the time being, instead of just automatically jumping to yet another figure line. And plus, Godzilla Kong the New Empire was rolling around, and I wanted to also focus, like, collecting some figures from that, and boy, did I collect. But at the same time, this figure really has, like, in a way, tried to stand the test of time for me. And I thought, you know, why not eventually kind of come back to it? And in fact, it's gotten to the point where my, I think it was the unboxing for this guy, became my most popular figure video of literally the entire channel's history. And that says a lot, you know, 10 years almost. Like over several hundred figure reviews over the years. This is the one that got me the most. So to everyone who watched that original video, thank you. But today in 2025, we're going to be doing a much more updated comparison, and, well, not comparison, review. We'll do comparisons later. But with that said, is it as good as I previously thought it was? Well, let's find out. So before I get started, I should probably mention that this is the Exquisite Basic, not the Stylist. The difference between the Stylist series and the Exquisite Basic series is that the Exquisite Basics are the action figures. They're what give you the posability, the different articulation, the very detailed sculpt, and sometimes the accessories. While the Stylist series are the statues. Even though they both have good sculpts and good paint applications, let's go ahead and just take a look at what you have here. So for the head, it is pretty freaking movie accurate. Like, this is actually the most movie accurate 6-7 inch scale Godzilla figure I've had in a very long time. The head has a bunch of nice and intricate little details that are just failed to capture on a lot of other figures these days, and it has a lot of nice like details and wash to the overall design. Don't know how well that's capturing on the camera, but we'll go ahead and use it anyway. The eyes are actually a spray where you have the white, like a bit of a lighter blue to white, and then you can kind of get the more blue, darker blue, and it kind of does like a gradient effect, and it looks really nice. It really looks like the eye is glowing, which unlike other Godzilla figures, especially around the legendary Godzilla, where they just literally seal the blue eye in blue and call it a day, this actually takes its time to give it like an illuminating effect, which I do like a lot. And as for the base figure, to my knowledge, this is the King of the Monsters figure. So everything here is going to be practically the same sculpt-wise as the King of the Monsters figure, but the thing is, I don't own the King of the Monsters figure. But that'll be another section of the video. So for the nostrils, they are sculpted actually pretty well. You can kind of see them right there. Moving up front here as well. They are just, you can see all the bumps and crevices across the face, across like the eyes, and then to the nose, and then the individually sculpted teeth. Which is for individually painted, not really sure if that counts, because while they are painted, they're not all individually painted, but they are individually painted, so not really counting, but whatever. The whole mouth is going to be in that blue, with the tongue as well in there, and then you can kind of turn that around to get some more detail up in the top of the roof of the mouth. And then showing you the tongue a bit better, which, there you go. You can kind of see the tongue just looks so crisp. Like, look at that. It's small, but it has so much detail, like especially on like the lining. It looks so good. Especially like the bottom half of the jaw, like right there inside. That looks nice. And as for the bottom jaw itself, again, it's got some nice sculpted details, and I do like it a lot. And as for the blue they picked, honestly, I dig it a lot. Moving on down to the neck, this is kind of where the sculpt work is still really nice, where we have the gills that are really defined, and it looks absolutely beautiful with how like high definition the quality of the gill sculpt is. And then we have like the backs, little back plates here, like the little scutes, little segmenting down here, and then you have like the 3 spines down here that lead up to the main spines themselves, and you have the neck segments, which look pretty darn nice as well. However, if I did have a bit of a complaint, it's that the neck paint doesn't really look like neck paint, it looks more like nail polish. And despite it being the heat raver, and they neglected to actually paint the gills themselves the blue, the only blue that's on there is from the neck, which would technically make that a bit more of an inaccurate thing, because if anything should be glowing, it is the gills, because remember, it comes from the stomach, goes up from Godzilla's throat, and actually vents through the gills and then shoots out of the mouth. So if anything, that's kind of a miss, but you know what, the gills also are kind of painted a little thickly, for lack of a better term. They're on the more thick side. It doesn't really look as crisp as it should. So that's a bit of a downgrade there. Something I do dig is the paint on the chest, which has a nice wash to it. It brings out some more finer details. It's all in the front. You get like the very quadruple pack. I don't even know how much packs there are. Like, look at that. Look at all those pecs. Look at all the little shapes, of course, making up Godzilla's stomach, diaphragm here, like all that just looks really nice, and all the segmenting and scales, that looks nice too. And the arms, while they don't have much or really any paint on them, you still get like a really nice amount of detail. Actually, no, that's a lie. There is a bit of a wash throughout like the entire figure, which I do dig to bring out like some more of the finer details. Like you can kind of see it looks a bit more roughed up and dirty looking. I kind of wish the claws had a bit more like definition to them as far as like the paint goes. I would have liked to see maybe a bit more of a darker or lighter paint just to make the claws pop a bit more. And also, a bit of a downside is the fact that the paint for the blue just kind of stops in the transition between the arms and the chest. There is a bit of blue paint right here, but really that's only because the paint was here, probably bled through. So, unfortunately, it just kind of looks like he's wearing a vest, which kind of does suck, but it is what it is. So there, that's that. Moving on down to the legs here, which actually let's go to the sides of the body. Sides of the body look pretty friggin' nice. Like look at all those details, and the dry brushing really kind of helps it pop a bit more. Has a lot of definition to it, and I do dig what we have here, especially like the little scutes. That almost looks like the scales of a Komodo dragon. Like I know that's on the actual MonsterVerse design, but if it has that much definition, you can tell that they really just took their time to sculpt and paint this thing to at least the best of their ability, even though I feel like the neck and chest could have been done a little bit better, but that's besides the point. Next, I want to talk about these big, meaty thighs. Like, look at how big they are. We have a lot of nice segmenting kind of going down, especially to the kneecaps, where we get more of that dry brushing and all the little scales. Going back up here to the thigh, where we have again more like the segmenting on both sides, still carrying that kind of dry brush effect. And then moving on down to the lower legs, we get that like little kind of like line of little scales, and then more scaling and details down here where we have like more flattened ones, and then kind of go to like jagged. Like you can obviously tell where it's kind of like transitions between the scales, if that makes any sense, because not all Godzilla scales are going to look the same. And then we have the feet, which are going to be big, muscular, of course accurate to the film, although I kind of would have liked to see a bit more wash with them as far as like the claws are concerned. Although again, the dry brushing there it's still there, but I think just again they would have helped to maybe get a bit more pop, maybe a bit more shading. That would have been nice. And next I want to talk about the dorsal plates. This is the most movie accurate I've seen them, because it does that thing where it glows right at the base and then kind of gets a little darker as the spine continues upward, and really gives like an illuminating effect. No, they are not translucent, but there is a translucent version out there, which I don't plan on buying, but I'm just worried pointing that out, which actually has a lighter paint application than this one. But as far as like the overall detail work is concerned on this one, it has a lot of nice wavy detail. You can kind of see where it kind of goes like triangle, 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 and then various lines in the sculpt. And of course does that like gradient thing. HIYA is really good when it comes to highlights and gradients, which I have to commend them for that. And of course the spines are very movie accurate, and they are very pointy. Like you could literally take this and whack someone outside the head and you could be charged with assault or even murder. And as far as the tail is concerned, long, prehensile. It's not overly long, but it is a longer tail. All the nice, beautiful segmenting, the blues up here, and then you kind of get like that blue wash. Down here, we don't really have a whole lot. We do have like the wash kind of carrying over, and then we have like the same kind of more roughed up detail here at the sides of the tail, giving you a good look at the other side here, as you can see. And then for the top, for the like spines themselves, I will admit that they do look rather nice, but I feel like, I don't know, it does, something just looks off to me. It like when we go from something like this to this, I guess because it lacks the gradation, but then again, it would be hard to kind of illuminate each and one of its spines like that. So they did the best with what they could. And I do like the kind of like dry brush and kind of wash effect, how it kind of stays consistent with each other. There's no like over bleeding or under bleeding. It all looks fairly natural. And just for one final look at the tail. All right. So for sculpting paint, let's break this down. Is it the most movie accurate one that I currently own? Yes, I'll admit. Is it perfect? No. Let's look at some of the drawbacks, or recap some of the drawbacks for the sculpting paint. For one, the neck doesn't really look the way it should to me, because again, it's a bit more thickly painted, a bit more caked on, specifically like the middle of it. And it doesn't just like let the detail kind of do the talking, and kind of gets a little, again, it's just a little thick on the front, and not so much like highlights here for the gills, which really just should be the ones that have that glowing paint, you know. Also, the painting on the chest, again, doesn't really look as it should. Looks more like he's wearing a vest. And I would have liked to seen some more definition on the claws. But other than that, I feel like everything else is just basically the way I want it to. It has really nice sculpting work and has like the most, I guess, high definition sculpting work I've seen on a Godzilla figure in a very long time. It's got a lot of nice, great paint applications to it as well. And I would even say, like, as far as the sculpt work as a whole, especially like on the sides of the body, it probably has the best sculpt, period. Like, I'm gonna be honest, it has that good of a sculpt. So sculpt, I really have no complaints over. It's just the paint. So for sculpting paint, I'm gonna give it a 9. I feel like the paint issues with the neck and the chest and the arms are enough to kind of dock like a point. But aside from that, it's basically almost perfect. So it gets a 9 out of 10. Next up, we're going to go over the articulation. So for the head, we're going to start with the jaw, which we can go open about that far, close up. And for the tongue, which yes, the tongue is on a hinge, we can actually go upwards about that far. And downwards about that far. Now what's fun is that the jaw actually kind of like elevates the tongue. So when you go to close it, it actually raises the tongue up. So in case if you want it up a bit more, you can use the jaw to open it to its correct position. So that's fine. For the head, we have actually let's talk about the head and neck together. So you might at first assume that it's on multiple segments, right? Multiple free-floating pieces. Well, actually, no, that's actually what it is. It's a bunch of free-floating pieces together. And it's actually one big rod from the head to the neck. Anyone who owns the NECA 1994, 1995, or Reactor Glow Godzilla knows exactly what I'm talking about. And it looks pretty snazzy. So using the neck and the head as leverage for each other, the head can look this far up, and then this far down, and then readjusting everything. This far to his right, and this far to his left. Now, here's something I find a positive and a negative. It's going to be the free-flowing pieces. They're great at covering the gaps, and they're great at like making everything seem fluid. And I'm not talking about the joints. I'm talking about the sculpt themselves. Because look at the gills. They actually work in unison with each other. Kind of see that line? How it kind of smushes down, still looks natural. And then extend it, still looks natural. Up, down. I think you gotta get it. But what is kind of a negative is that since the free-flowing pieces and the head are different pieces, if you take the head a little too far down, you'll actually clip the head sculpt into the neck and then kind of gets stuck in there. So you kind of have to like realign it. So that is a bit of a problem for some, but that's not going to be much of an issue if you know how to handle this thing properly. Next, we're going to go on to the shoulders, which we can go up about that far, down about that far. Can pretty much go all the way around. Pretty nice. Elbow can bend in, can go out. Let's kind of re-angle that. Just like that, and can rotate because it's on a swivel. And the wrist is on a ball joint, so you can kind of twist and turn to your heart's content. There we go. The waist we have here is going to be also on a kind of more of like a singular ball joint. I don't know if it's a barbell, but you can rotate it. It's a bit on the more weak side and can get some like mild side to side movement, but it doesn't really have a whole lot of range to it, which is a bit more on the disappointing side. Legs can go out this far, come in about this far, can do a complete 360 kick. For the knees, the bottom part of the knee isn't going to really do much aside from mildly bend like this, but the top knee is going to be where the most of the bending happens. So you can go bend in about that far, bend out about that far. Can't really rotate. You can get a nice ball joint here at the foot with some varying degree of success per unit, I suppose. And then you get 9 segments total at the tail. So you can go up, yeah, down, to the right, and to the left. So yes, there's 9 segments going down the tail, and it looks fluid. So even though mine's still relatively a bit stiff after all these years, trying to realign everything up, because it's one thing I don't like about articulated figures, that you constantly have to like realign everything. And then again, there's really no way to like actively avoid that when you're messing with them. This Godzilla pretty much has about everything you'd want naturally from a Godzilla figure, as far as like the articulation's concerned. I will admit that there are some parts which I feel like could have been improved upon, like maybe another joint in the elbows, because you can't really bend them all that much, and maybe free up that waist joint a bit. And I guess if you were to count this as a problem, because I could imagine the head shearing into the free-floating pieces over time. But as a whole, it's at least serviceable. It's still very stiff, and as far as the range of movement goes, it's not the best. But for the sheer amount of articulation you get, it's actually quite good. So for the overall articulation, I feel like 8 out of 10 is going to be a fair score for this, because it has just about everything you'd want, but I do feel like there are some things that could have been improved upon, much like the sculpt and paint. So again, articulation gets an 8. So for accessories, I'm unfortunately disappointed to tell every one of you that this figure does not come with anything. Just kidding. We get an alternate head sculpt, a separate neck piece, and of course, the main attraction, the hero. So let's go ahead and start with the alternate head sculpt. So for the head, it's going to be the same thing. Open mouth, has the membrane, the jaw, the teeth. However, the mouth itself is softened out. And you might be noticing, well, dropping the whole friggin' thing off my desk. Well, why does it not have any detail? Well, that is because you plug the beam into it. You're going to notice a ball joint, and let's go ahead and talk about the neck piece while we're at it. So it kind of features the same thing where you have like the very thickly painted neck, but of course we have the dorsal plates which are smushed up together, than the little scutes down here that are like raising up. And this is to help replicate the scene in Godzilla King of the Monsters when he's like shooting his beam up into the air, or that one scene in when he's in the ocean and he shoots the beam up. I gotta stop dropping my pieces. When he's blasting the beam at Kong. So, and as for the beam itself, it has to be the best looking beam of my entire collection, but I also feel like there's some things that could have been done a little bit differently. What do I mean? Well, it's entirely casted in a beautiful blue plastic. I dig the paint applications, the sculpted details and the color choice they went with, and it looks very kind of like watery. I don't know what's with Godzilla beams looking watery, but anyway, it looks very nice, has like a bit of a spiral and it looks nice. And especially like here's where you plug it into the mouth. You can kind of see a bit of a problem with like the beam, how it has a very clear rod that goes through it all the way about up to here, maybe goes a little bit further. But it's kind of noticeable. It's to help give the beam some more structural integrity so it doesn't droop over time, even though this thing is made of a harder plastic. It's still very much noticeable, but to my knowledge, the translucent version kind of fixes this, so maybe that's just several ways to attack the same problem. So let's go ahead and assemble the accessories. So for the head, you're gonna wanna take the head sculpt off this one. If you cannot get it off, use a blow dryer, or at least something to heat it up. And then you're gonna notice the three rings, the three free floating pieces. It goes in this order. Take a look at the dorsal plates, align them accordingly. Do not lose them. Next, you're going to want to take, well, this is what the ball joint system looks like. Very long, thin. It feels kind of malleable, not really malleable, but feels structurally sound enough. So you're going to want to take this neck sculpt, and you're going to notice the ball joint bulging out of it a little bit. And then you're going to kind of want to rear this up as much as you can. And then you're going to want to take this head sculpt, and you're going to want to like just plug it into there. And then it should look like this. I will admit the neck to head connection just doesn't look, it looks too elongated. I get Godzilla's neck was kind of long in some shots of the film, but this just kind of looks a little goofy to me. But you're going to want to take this beam effect and plug it into the mouth like this. Make sure it's up at an angle, and boom. You have Godzilla shooting the beam up into the air. Now, okay. The display factor for this is honestly a bit limiting because once it's stuck like this, there's really not much else you can do with it. But let's assume that you want him shooting it forward. Can you do that? And to that I say, you kind of can, but it comes with a few caveats. So you're going to want to take those three free neck floating pieces back. And then you're going to want to plug in the head sculpt in with the head into the ball joint. And if you're having trouble, just use a blow dryer. Well, there we go. It worked last time, so like I didn't need a blow dryer, man. Come on. Okay, so let's do it this way. So plug it in. Okay. There we go. He's shooting it ahead. Now, what seems to be a bit of a problem here? Well, that's a problem. See, no matter how far you get that thing into there, this beam is going to be too heavy. It's going to be too heavy for this ball joint or the net free floating pieces to support this head, plus the beam itself. And it's not always going to look like this. It's going to droop over time, then it's going to fall off, and you might break something. So this I would really only do for like quick photography sessions. That's how I would do it. Even though it advertises it like this on the box, does it? I don't know. I don't have my box anymore. But yeah, this is basically what it showcases. And if I had some nitpicks, it's that let's get the beam. Let's get the beam off the head. It's that the beam is plugged into the head at a weird angle. Because like in order for it to shoot straight up, they should have had it like this, right? Well, no, because Godzilla's body doesn't rear up that far. They had to like angle it like this. If you're trying to just do it like this, then it would shoot straight downward, and that also looks weird. Aside from the front or from the bottom. From the sides, it's obvious that this beam is not, plugging through his throat. So unfortunately, there's no way you can actually plug it like straight ahead. Even if you were trying to plug it in from the side, which it won't fit, and even then it'll look like this. So unfortunately, the placement of the beam is a bit odd, but you do get a nice display option if you want that. But I definitely do think that what the heck is with me dropping all my freaking accessories? What the hell, man? But it at least looks fine. Do I recommend displaying it like that? Honestly, again, no. Your choice, your option. Definitely think it should have probably came with a stand. But with that said, it's a nice beam effect. It has some nice display options. And as far as the accessories themselves go, I'm not really quite sure how to rate it. Because on one hand, while you do get a very nice setup for a very nice scene in the film, I feel like there could have been some better ways to pull this off. The beam needed a bit more of like paint just bring out some more of the finer details. And the head just looks a little too elongated, specifically this neck piece. And this head sculpt is, while it's nice and plugs into the beam very well, it's at a weird angle, which I get why they put it like that, but it's not always going to look that good. So, very good sculpt work, very nice paint work for what things actually have paint. But as a whole, I'm going to give this thing a 7 out of 10. 7.5, I feel like. Again, not the best accessories, definitely one of the best heat rays I've gotten in my 10 years of Godzilla collecting, but again, your mileage will vary. And for some quick size comparisons, here he is next to some other 6-7 inch scale Godzilla figures, a little fuzz, with the heat ray effect, or at least the charged up Spitfire, whatever may have you, with the SH MonsterVerse Godzilla 2021, not Spitfire, but it's a Spitfire, and the mechagodzilla 2019 from Godzilla King of the Monsters V2 Spitfire version. And I'm happy to announce that after this video is uploaded, there will be a three-way comparison between these three. There will not be Playmates, Funko, or U2s, only just these three. These are higher-end action figures, and we're going to do a remaster of that comparison from so long ago. And here he is next to some other Godzilla vs. Kong figures I have with, the latest GVK ones I bought, with the Kong and Godzilla from the Hollow Earth Playmates set. And here's more Playmates Godzilla vs. Kong figures with the Spitfire Godzilla from the 6-inch basic line, and the Battle Roar, which I still resent to this day. So overall, what do I think of this figure? I think this figure is an absolute slam dunk. It is easily one of my favorites of probably the entire collection. And I'll be honest, I was very blown away by this figure when it initially came out a few years ago and I got it for the first time. Because I didn't really think I'd ever get to own a HIYA, yet here I am. But, let's talk about the figure itself here. I think that if you like what you're seeing here and you want it, don't fret. Because even though a lot of places are out of stock, Big Bad Toy Store, which I'll link in the description, is actually taking pre-orders for this thing, and it says they're arriving in April of this year. So you have plenty of time to save up for this thing. Next month. It's gonna be a little while, and I don't know how reliable Big Bad Toy Store is in 2025 because I haven't ordered them from them in a while. I've only been kind of like advertising what's in stock, what's not, and it does look very nice. And with that said, again, do I think that there are some drawbacks? Yes, but that shouldn't really stop you from deciding if you want to buy this or not. I'm just here to showcase my unit and what I think of it and just giving you recommendations. That all said, I also think that if you want something with translucent plastic, the translucent one is also available in select retailers. I don't know what the stock is on Big Bad Toy Store. I'll have to double check, but I'll definitely update the description if it comes out with a listing. So, again, all this is recorded March of 2025, and just to give like a more updated version of my original video. So as for my final scores of this guy, the sculpt and paint gets a 9 out of 10. Very good sculpt, practically perfect, really no complaints. It's the paint I just have a bit of issues with the claws, neck, and chest, and arms. That's really it. So I did doctor some points off that. The articulation gets an 8 because it basically has everything you want, and but there are some parts where I feel like there could have been some more range cut into it, like specifically the waist. And I also do feel like the accessories could have been vastly improved, just because like even when you have everything all together, it still doesn't look 100% right. And if you just wanted like him spitfiring with this head on these free-flowing pieces, the free-flowing pieces aren't really designed to have that. So I would have had like a third neck sculpt shooting downward, and like you could plug the beam in and it would support the weight of the beam. That's what I would have done. But I'm not HIYA Toys. I'm just someone who supports HIYA Toys. And I also want to touch upon that because I haven't really bought a HIYA Toys figure since then. Again, it's just because I wanted to prioritize some other figure lines, but I feel like I'm in the mood. You know what? I feel like maybe the next figure I get could be a HIYA Toys figure. I'm not making any guarantees. In fact, really, the only HIYA Toys I really want in my collection are the Shimo, Godzilla Evolved, Pre-Evolved, ghidorah, Spitfire, and maybe one of the Kongs. We'll talk about the Kongs. And that Muto, too. That Muto, I want that Muto. Please make a male Muto, HIYA. Really begging you. Anyway, and you know, sure, let's add Scylla to that list. So 7 figures I would realistically want. I'm not going to get the whole line because I just have like way too much versions of the MonsterVerse Godzillas where I'm kind of satisfied with what I have. So I don't need like the HIYA Toys Burning Godzilla. If I end up getting it as like a gift, then I'll accept it. We'll do a comparison with the NECA and a review, but really, it's not something I'm going to get on my own accord. So with that said, my final ratings, let's recap. Sculpt and Paint gets a 9, Articulation gets an 8, and the accessories get a 7.5. My final rating is going to be an 8.5 out of 10. Near perfect, but just misses the mark on a few things. Not the perfect, not the greatest Godzilla figure of all time, but to me, as far as like sheer quality and consistency goes, yeah, I would say it probably earns that title for the best MonsterVerse Godzilla. But with that said, thank you guys for watching. If you guys liked it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, everyone.